Welcome to the hot seat. I'm Taylor Mankle, joined by Scott Feldman. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. Scott is the president of NextGen Climate. Had him here, invited him to the hot seat to talk about some of the hot topics within his organization. But first, let's just talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your major? What's your year here at Iowa State?
This is my second year at Iowa State, so I'm a sophomore. My major is meteorology, which really focuses on the weather and climate. And that's one of the reasons why I really got involved with NextGen, because in the past I sort of like studied the, the dangers and science of climate change, and I felt like I really wanted to do something about it. And I thought NextGen gave me the perfect opportunity to really get involved and do something about this big problem. So
absolutely, that's a great path to follow down. Now, with that, why did you choose to come to Iowa State?
Iowa State had a really good meteorology program. The major is pretty small, and it's a pretty specific small major. So when I went to visit schools, I really specifically looked for the major, and I talked to the professors, and I just felt that it was a really good program over here. I also love the school. Really beautiful campus, and everything just went really well, and everything felt good here. So,
and what would you say is your favorite part about Iowa State?
I would just say maybe walking to class every day. Just the campus is always really nice. It's really scenic. I just kind of love the atmosphere. I just love everything about it. So it's great.
It's a great place to be, and it's a great place for NextGen Climate. So.
Right.
How did you start getting involved with NextGen? You say you're only a sophomore, already this high in the organization. How did you get started?
Well, pretty much last year, I was sort of looking for organizations to get involved on with campus, and I knew climate change was something I was interested in. I knew I wanted to find an organization where I could get involved. So I was just looking on the list, and I saw NextGen Climate. So I went to their website and just started reading about it, and I was like, this is something I could really get involved in, and something that I really believe in. So I went to a few meetings last year, and I really picked up the pace towards the end of the year. And it was sort of on off year, as a lot of the upperclassmen were leaving and graduating. So I really felt time where I could take charge, and once I was elected president, I felt that I could really just do well this year as president.
And as the president of NextGen Climate, tell us about some of the core values that your organization has.
Well, first of all, Taylor, I think the number one thing that goes through NextGen Climate is really kind of the political sense of things. If you've been on campus, you've probably seen both fellows and volunteers are trying to get people registered to vote because there's this really big election coming up, as you know, in November. And, there's a really stark contrast between the candidates, and we really want to vote for a candidate that's pro-clean energy and a candidate that's really going to do something about the issue. So we're just trying our best to get as many people as we can register to vote, and that's our main focus up until November. It's really the political side of things.
All right, now this part of the hot seat, I'm going to really start to warm up that seat right there for you, Scott. So that being said, this segment's called Devil's Advocate. I really don't feel these ways. This is an important disclaimer, but I'm going to give you some of the arguments that many people may say or may truly believe, believe it or not, about some of the things about climate change and other things related to NextGen Climate.
I'm ready for this.
So go ahead, sit back and relax and be ready for some of these questions. Once again, I don't believe these, but first one, global climate change is inevitable. It was only a matter of time, so why try and slow it now?
Well, the whole factor that is inevitable is sort of just completely off base, because the science is really clear behind climate change. We know that humans' increase in emissions, particularly carbon dioxide, is what's causing the rise in global temperatures. And something I kind of study in the field of meteorology and climate is sort of like, what would happen if these CO2 emissions were taken out of the picture? What would really happen was the temperature would actually be going down in the 21st century, and that's even particularly because of some of the aerosols that humans emit into the atmosphere, which cause less absorption of heat. But because of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, especially as well as methane, that's driving up the temperature. And to say that's inevitable is completely wrong, because humans are the ones who are contributing to it. So if we stop this and we move to clean energy, we have the power to really prevent further warming and disaster in the future. So.
And to go off that, what do you say to people that say global climate change, global warming, it's a myth?
I would be really careful when they first say that because, a lot of people that have kind of studied the issue for a while and people are beginning to become frustrated really fast, just like, oh, you're a climate change denier, you're completely not in tune with reality, which I, partially agree with that. But I think I would try to answer the, root of the problem. Why do you believe this way? Do you just want to ignore the science, or do you have these faulty claims, or do you just want to not accept reality because you're afraid? And once you kind of answer the base of those questions, then you could go from there, give them some good information about the science, and hopefully they'll change their mind.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say to a person that said, America has been made successful on the basis of fossil fuels? We need them to thrive.
Well, I would say, for one, do you really think this is a path that we could sustain? Because, first of all, fossil fuels aren't going to last forever. We have limited amounts of burning coal and oil. Even if we're going to keep on doing this, how long are we going to have before we would have to, move to clean energy? And secondly, I think kind of the base of this argument is people are really looking at the, sort of economic view of this, as you said, And I really think that, just the externalities of climate change in the future is going to cost society millions and millions upon dollars. So why don't we take care of this now and move to clean energy, in which we're going to have to anyways? So that's what I would really answer to that.
And kind of a counter to that, what if people were to say renewables are just a BandAid, they're not a true solution?
Well, it's not to say a BandAid. It's saying that if you start renewables, that suddenly it's not going to continue to push us in a better direction, which is completely wrong, because we know what's causing the issues that we're experiencing, and rather a BandAid. It would be almost a permanent fix if we completely move to clean energy. And obviously the time that CO2 stays in the atmosphere is hundreds of years. So we are going to continue to experience the warming, but it's just not going to be as bad. And the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, kind of issued, how much warming, would be point of disastrous, really bad for society. And the numbers around 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, around 3 to 7, degrees Fahrenheit of warming. So if humans prevent that, then we could continue on as a society, and the only way to do that is moving to clean energy.
Absolutely. Now this last one, very political, as you said. Your group has been very vocal in the political sphere coming up to November. Trump is going to make America great again. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I'm sort of not a big political guy. I try to avoid it all I can, but this political season has been so wacky that it's kind of hard to stay out of it. But the one thing I would say to that is that regardless of whatever your views are political, sort of look at what's important for the future. And one of those things is climate change, and especially among millennials, because this is going to affect us and our grandchildren in the future. And we have one candidate, Hillary Clinton, who has a pretty good plan to attack climate change. Says that climate change is something that's happening, something that's going to affect us years to come. She's going to follow the Paris talks and make sure that the United States follows closely to that. Well, Donald Trump, on the other hand, says that climate change is a hoax. It's a hoax perpetrated by China. He doesn't have any. During the debate, he denied he even said that in the first place. So you have to look at those two candidates and who would you really want to lead the future? Now, I don't think that's making America great again. We're going to continue to warm the earth and cause all this bad things to happen.
Absolutely. Well, the hot seat's going to get a little cooler now. We're done with Devil's Advocate. I felt terrible about doing that. I can't do it anymore. So I want to ask you a question as one of the leaders in NextGen Climate here at Iowa State. What are some of the steps that society has to take to reach 100% clean energy as one of your goals?
Well, I think the number one thing is I think this is something that America and as a group of people, this is something that we have to say that we really care about this. And right now, I think there's many people that are beginning to see that clean energy is the future. Clean energy is the path that we have to take. But there's still this large group of Americans, whether they don't think climate change is a big issue or they think it's going to be disastrous to the economy, that aren't quite convinced yet. So I think to be fully on board with the plan to really move all the way towards 100% clean energy, we need to get everybody on board. I think one of the things the NextGen Climate does really well is to get millennials, really caring about this issue, because we're really the future of America. So I think that's something we're going to continue to do in the future as well.
And connecting to millennials, talk about what an average student, say at Iowa State here, can do to help this cause.
Well, I think first of all, the number one thing you could really do to help this cause is join organizations like NextGen Climate and other environmental organizations on campus. Before heading to college, I really didn't think that individually, we had too much of an effect on these bigger issues. But sort of joining a university, everything becomes kind of on a larger scale. So if you join an organization like ours, we're really going to attack these issues head on, whether it's in the political sense to try to convince our politicians that this is something we really care about. Environmental activism, if there's a big environmental thing headed on campus or around, we're going to petition for it, and we're going to tell everybody that this is something we really care about. And I think joining an organization like ours is the number one thing average student could do to get involved.
And last but not least, how do you get involved with NextGen?
Well, the number one thing that you should first do is you could head on the student org website. It has my contact information, Scott Feldman, as well as the other cabinet officers' information. Also, we have meetings. It's on Wednesdays, once every 2 weeks in Culver 18 from 8 to 9. And once you go on the website, you could just request to be added, and I'll add you on the email list, and I'll tell you when meetings are, and we'll update you on pretty much all the events that are going on in NextGen.
Perfect. Well, Scott Feldman, once again, thank you for stepping into the hot seat.
Yeah,
it was great
no
to have you, and hope you have great success in all ventures with NextGen.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's all we have time for here on this week's Hot Seat with Taylor Mankle.